Since Joe Biden won't do anything about the border, GOP leadership is taking the crisis into their own hands. 26 of the nation's governors have put together an action plan for Biden to take back control of the southern border. 10 of them appeared there today for the announcement, but I guess Biden couldn't go because he not only refused to meet with them, but he won't step foot near the border. Texas Governor Greg Abbott didn't mince words about what his state is facing.
President Joe Biden has caused a humanitarian crisis and chaos on our border. All Americans saw exactly what happened in Del Rio, Texas just last month, and we know that that chaos will be repeated unless and until President Biden takes action.
Joining me now is someone who's also working to curb the influx of drugs, crime, and illegals pouring into his state, Texas Congressman Pat Fallon. Congressman, thank you so much for being here tonight. It's great to see you.
Jen, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
You know, we have been talking about this catastrophe at the border almost since the day that Joe Biden took office, and as projected, it has grown exponentially worse. Governors today laid out a plan for Joe, but, you know, until he's out of office, it's up to governors like Greg Abbott and Doug Ducey along the border there to put a stop to it. So I'm curious, what do you think of their plan, and is there any additional action that you would like to see them take?
Well, Jen, I think it's a great plan, and it's wonderful to see the governors across the country stepping up when the federal government has abdicated their responsibility to do really the most important thing that any elected official should do, which is we need to keep our citizens safe, because if you're not safe, then you're not free. So I love their plan. It's a 10-point plan. Some of the highlights are reinstating President Trump's wait in Mexico policy, known as the Migrant Protection Protocols, finishing the wall, actually deporting folks that aren't here illegally, particularly hardened criminals. Title 42, which is another thing. We've got the United States is closed to the rest of the world right now because of COVID. We won't let one lawful tourist into the country from Europe, even if they have pockets full of money, but we're going to let 1.5 million people in the last 9 months, flood the southern border. And we know they're from countries that don't have vaccination rates to speak of. So it's very inconsistent and it's hypocritical.
Yeah, and it's pretty simple, right? Just revert to the Trump-era policies. We'll be okay. We often say on the show, if Biden had just gone to the beach, everything would be just fine here in America, especially at our southern border. But is there anything additional? And I don't mean to be overly tough on the government. I know they have a lot on their shoulders right now, as you do as well in your state. But is there anything more that you think they can do? Because, listen, let's face it, I don't have a whole lot of confidence in Joe Biden taking their advice at this stage.
No, I do like, and that's a fair question, Jen, what Governor Abbott was doing with arresting people for aggravated criminal trespass. When you enter the country illegally, that's a federal crime. But anything else beyond that is you could be violating state law. We really need to be aggressive here because this is about disincentivizing people from mass unlawful migration. And unfortunately, what Biden is doing is people are calling home and saying, hey, I got into the country, they're flying me to wherever I want to go, and they're giving me money, and you can make it too. If they come all this way, like under President Trump, he took a flood of illegal immigration and he made it a trickle. And now it's a flood again. There's no coincidence. And Kamala Harris wants to blame this on climate change. Yeah, it was the climate that changed at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue on the 20th of January. That's the change.
So, you've spent a lot of time at the border. I've been down there. Your colleagues have spent a lot of time there. A lot of letters have been sent to 1600 Pennsylvania. There have been countless calls for meetings. Nothing but crickets in response, really. This is what Jenn had to say a couple weeks ago, and I think it's worth replaying again. Let's listen.
There are a lot of Republicans out there giving speeches about how outraged they are about the situation at the border. Not many who are putting forward solutions.
Congressman, what would you like to say to Joe Biden right now?
I'd say, Mr. Biden, number one, first thing you got to do is take over the border from the Mexican drug cartels. Let's secure the border. Let's do that we can do it with drones and cameras, finishing the wall that, by the way, the American taxpayers paid for, actually empowering. There's a reason why the Border Patrol Union has voted to endorse President Trump twice over Joe Biden and then Hillary Clinton 16, because he actually let them do their jobs. They're very good at their jobs, and they want to ensure that, number one, we take on the drug cartels, and number two, anybody that crosses that border has to do it legally. And if you do it illegally, you're going to be sent back. Those are the crux of it. And then also letting countries know, like Mexico and the Northern Triangle and Central America, that if you're not working with us on this, then we're going to hurt you economically. So there's got to be a price to be paid. And if there are consequences for bad actions, you're going to see it diverted and thwarted, and we're going to have to see some progress. But if not, and you put your head in the sand, it's going to be more of the same.
Yeah, and Congressman, over and over, this administration keeps saying, don't come to the border's closed. We all know, including these migrants, these illegals that are coming across, that's a total joke. Brandon Judd with Border Patrol, he weighed in on this today, the Border Patrol Council, that is. Let's listen to what he had to say.
Criminal cartels listen to actions. They don't care about words. And the actions of the Biden administration is very clear. If you cross the border illegally, you will be rewarded. And that's what this administration is doing. So as they give lip service to an issue, as they say the borders are closed, their actions clearly demonstrate otherwise.
Now, these cartels are too busy taunting the Border Patrol right now to pay attention to what's happening on TV, what Biden's saying, what the GOP is saying. So what do you think is, what's the message loud and clear to this group of 60,000 that's headed our way, potentially 400,000 according to Mayorkas? How do we stop them in their tracks?
We don't let them come into the country. That's how you stop them in their tracks. You say, if you get here, you're going to wait in Mexico, which makes it's a very dangerous and perilous and long and expensive journey. And the people aren't going to take it unless they think they're going to be rewarded with entry into the United States. So if they call home and these 60,000 are unsuccessful, they're going to send a clear message to the folks back in their homelands to say, don't even bother trying. And what these leftist, socialist, Marxist, communist, whatever you want to call them, aren't really telling the American people is the truth. An open and porous border is immoral, and it's bad for the people that live north of it and south of it. I mean, 30%, Jen, of the women that migrate from southern Mexico and Central America are raped or sexually assaulted along the journey. Nobody's talking about that. What about the murders? I mean, Mexico is an incredibly dangerous country right now because the cartels are in control. It's, in effect, a de facto narco state.
Congressman Pat Fallon, we have to leave it there. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for all you continue to do to draw attention to what's happening at our southern border.
Thanks, Jen. God bless you. Take care.
God bless you, too.